Turn it all the way off. Mhm.
And I know you talked about, but I.
Well, see, you could have had that on your screen.
Well, he just put this up.
I know, but that's going to overrun anything back there. So go back to your meeting. That's mine.
Hopefully you can see the slideshow at the beginning.
Yep.
It says Genealogy Snapshot, Gary Green. We're going to cover some statistics, genealogist general emphasis items, genealogy staff recommendations, some trends that we're noticing. Then it'll be your turn to be concerns and comments. If you are trying to set yourself up and you're on an iPhone, I request you go to *6 to mute yourself.
I just did it, honey. I just did it.
If you are
Barbara Howell, we need for you to mute yourself, please. Also, Robert, where it says Robert's iPhone.
I don't know how to do it.
use *6.
Where do you hit *6 at?
Okay, I'm going to start going through the statistics a little bit, try to highlight what I think is important, and then we'll come back to it probably later. The backlog is obviously the problem that we've got across the board. We've been working pretty diligently at the staff level, and they're doing a super job. In the last month, they've approved 309 new applications just in the first 23 days of the month. So they're doing pretty well, working their way through. But we still have the backlog on the new and 65 weeks on the supplementals. The good news, probably the best news ever, is that we have an approval rating of about 95.4% for new applications. That means you out in the field are doing the right job getting the applications to our staff and having them be approval ready. Supplementals are a little bit lower than that, 84.9%, and we're hoping to get a little bit higher percentage on that in the near future. We are looking at the fact that we have 5 full-time genealogists, 3 part-time genealogists, but it comes out to about 6.1 genealogists full-time equivalents because the part-timers only work 3 days, 2 days, maybe 1 day a week. So we haven't got, although we've got 8 bodies, we only have 6 equivalents to full-time staff. One reaction we're getting in the recent past is our time for review by the staff has diminished for each application. We dropped about 0.48 per application, so we're down to 2.8 hours per application on average. We've received about 861 new and junior applications, and we have a membership count of, say, 37,838 at the end of December. That's before we start to reconcile. So then on top of that, we received 861 new and junior, 204 more supplementals, 12 memorial, for 1,077 in the this time frame. We're registering about 370 applications per month, so we're right on pace with what we're doing in January. If you look at the pending applications, uh, we're improving our capabilities, if you will, of getting approval ready applications because the number of emails from the staff back to the chapter or state point of contact has
I'm fine. We'll go to the restroom.
diminished in most cases. We still have some problems with supplementals, and our administrative problems are still relatively high. So we need to start looking at that requirements checklist and making sure we've got that before applications are sent in. One of the problems we have, and it doesn't really record any place, is the re-review of applications. And that's when an application has been pended. Somebody from the chapter or the state comes back with here's the response. Then we have to re-review that application. And we've done 202 of those in the since 1st of September. We've flagged about 75 Patriots PRS since 1st of September, and we have 1,156 total flagged right now. One of the concerns I've got, and we need to process this down the road, is we got about 900 applications that are flagged by the DAR. They're kind of mentioned in the PRS that they're flagged, but we have not flagged them in the PRS yet. So I've got a concern. I hope you're paying attention to that when you put in an application. Look at the DAR for your Patriot and make sure that he or she is not flagged by the DAR. The backlog, we're still at 861 members that need to be reviewed. The supplementals are 139 and memorials are 12 since September. We're working on the applications. We're emphasizing approval ready applications. We are getting a pre-check of these applications. Many of you are getting notifications that you need to fix a form or get a a birth certificate or something else that could be easily corrected. It needs to be done before it actually gets to review, and that pre-check is trying to take care of that. I'm going to try to continue doing a quarterly presentation of this forum. I feel like I'm at the helm of the Queen Mary right now. The system is moving. It's going very well. You guys are doing your job. Staff is doing their job, and we're getting applications approved without many corrections. We have overcome this large addition of applications from August. We are now into the middle of September reviewing applications. And that was a huge jump, and we should start seeing a reduction in the backlog weeks fairly soon. And we're looking to add staff members to the supplemental application review in the near future. And once we get the new member backlog down, we'll try to go to the supplementals. One of the things we're getting from our staff, or these are a number of things we're getting from our staff, but some of the recommendations they had was if you can't read it as you're looking at it before you send it in, neither can the staff. So if you need to have readable supporting documents, and that may be the guy who is the second guy who looks at the application, because obviously we wouldn't put in documents that didn't work, but if that second guy can't read it, it may be the time to get a reprint. Any facts that you put on the application need to have supporting documentation. We're still getting some folks who are trying to do family histories as opposed to an application to the SAR. An application includes facts we don't need to work on a family history. You can work on that on Ancestry. Put in all your guesses on that.
So next we
If you are using a, a former, a formerly approved DAR or CAR or SAR application, when you put it on your new application, make sure you include the corrections that were made by the staff at the time. So if they change the date to be 1748 and the printed part was 1747, change your document to 1748. We still have problems with folks not including the copyright notice on the bottom of DAR applications. And I think what that is probably the first time a chapter registrar is doing it. He's not sure what he's working on and he prints it. But our back check is the state point of contact, and I'm depending on the state point of contact to be able to look and say, you're missing that copyright notice. We should stop seeing those as something that's caught in a pre-check by the staff. We made a change to the genealogy committee policies for online applications. They need to be printed so that the break is after a reference for a particular generation, not in the middle of the generation. And don't put the names on one side and the doc or references on the next page. Let's get it properly set at the break. And those of you who are working the online application realize that you can adjust the font size so that it fits to work. One of the recommendations that came from the staff was to use GIMP. Personally, I'm not familiar with it, but I am getting different inputs from folks around. GIMP is a free software that you can go out to edit documents. And one of the reasons we brought that up was looking at a document that has a black background is tough to read. This GIMP can transfer it. I've seen other things, other recommendations. Those of you who have Macs would be able to do it using the Mac software. So let's try to see if we can find ways to print it so that they're readable.
Yes, but I thank you for your focus on the firewall certain place.
Tick marks and vertical lines for SAR applications before 2012. There were questions about that that came up, and one of the answer is maybe they're acceptable. The acceptability kind of depends on what the source for the tick marks were. If it's in the older applications, they may have ticked it off because they had a family genealogy. That's not necessarily acceptable at this time. So you would have to say that's probably not an acceptable tick mark, and the vertical line may not be acceptable. If the app or the source of the is still acceptable, then I would say you'd have some reason to believe that it's an acceptable fact. The genealogy staff is going to offer some time for people who are coming to leadership to actually talk to the staff, and they're trying to set it up at 15-minute intervals. I realize that not all of you will be coming to leadership. I'm going to offer this to those who are signing up for leadership, but want to give you a heads up in case you need to encourage your representatives who are going to leadership to go see the genealogy staff and talk to them about a particular concern you might have. So these are the times. They're Wednesday afternoon, Thursday till about 2, and then Friday noon to 4:30. They'll all be at the headquarters, and I really want to make an effort to limit it to 15 minutes per member because there are some of us who like to go sit and talk to Denise for all day long, but she's got a lot of fans, so let's give her a shot at talking to a number of people. And if you come, bring some questions, specific questions that you have, and be able to work through that. But this is an opportunity to work with the staff once you're there. DAR application, I want to emphasize again, some of you may not be familiar. This is the page that we're going to throw away. But if you look down at the bottom of it, you can see some real hard to read print right now. That needs to be on the bottom of the page. And it's the bottom of every page. You can see the arrow here pointing to it. And this is what that says. Copyright, Daughters of the American Revolution, all rights reserved, copy services for that particular application. This needs to be on every DAR paper, every page of the paper that you send to us.
Not on everything.
Trends that we're seeing, we're getting better applications. We're up to 95.4% approved since the 1st of September.
Yeah, about the second. And that's fine. I just want to know if he's all right. Yep.
Robert, could you take your conversation someplace else? You were interrupting the presentation.
I'm trying to mute it. I can't figure it out. Sorry.
Okay, administrative errors are still coming up. We're missing signatures. So whomever in your chapter or your state society is supposed to get the signatures, they need to have some encouragement from you to make sure they get them for everyone. And the biggest problem appears to be when you're sending in a family plan and somewhere in that family somebody didn't sign. So make sure you're looking at that. We're also having a problem with proper payments. A big problem that's concerning to me is we have folks still sending in birth certificates without the sex being stated as male. And I've come up with every sort of inputs. Well, I can send you a passport, I can send you a driver's license, I can send you the 1950 census, I can send you a baptismal record. The genealogy committee policy is it has to be a birth certificate with male or a court order with male. It doesn't say all these others. So please don't keep coming up with alternatives. Chase down the application or chase down the birth certificate. It's going to take 10 to 12 weeks wherever you're working. And DAR applications, once again, we can't accept chapter copies and the copyright notice we discussed. Okay, I'm going to look for concerns. I've got a number of chats, and then I've got Rob Sexton has a chart that I think would be helpful for you folks to see. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. And Rob, if you can share yours and maybe show your chart and explain it for them.
Thanks, Gary. And for those of you that I don't know or that don't know who the heck I am, I'm the current chair of the genealogy committee for PG Addington's term. Okay, can you all see that? I can see Gary.
Yes.
See that? Okay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So this is a graph I put together of the application production in 2024. I finished it about 25 minutes ago, so please don't hold me to the 99.9% accuracy in it because I have not gone back and reconciled with the information that Gary has provided. But I think the important takeaway here is the trend in these lines. January is in like a typical bar graph. January is on the far left, December is on the far right. The blue line is the number of applications that were received by the end of each month.
Is that
the takeaway on this one is what happened in August? I hope we all remember what the hell happened in August. We ran a sale. Or we gave notice that there was a price increase in September. So as you all can imagine, because many of you were involved in submitting applications, the number of applications received in the month of August set all-time records. The gold line, and by the way, you can see that after the price increase went into effect, the volume dropped. No surprise. We expected that. The gold line is the applications that I'm defining as decisioned. And a decisioned application is either one that's approved, or what's the alternative to being approved? Pended. So this is a number of applications that were either approved or pended. The important takeaway is there's only three, up until September, there were only 2 months where the volume approved exceeded the volume received. The impact on that is that we're making no headway on our backlog. We made no headway on our backlog until September of 2024. The primary reason for that is the red line. The red line on this page is the number of full-time staff equivalent. Now, again, it's not exact to the 10th because we have a genealogist that works 16 hours a week, and I counted that as a half. When Gary gave out his numbers about 5 minutes ago, he was counting the actual hours of the total staff, and so I think he came up with 6.1. I'm not going to worry about that. Here's the point. We started the year with 6.5 FTE. We dropped as low as 3.5 in June, and it took us until September when all of the new staff that we hired, which was three full-time people, until they were all trained. This period between July and September, production was improving, but not to the extent that you would expect 6.5 FTE, because there was training going on, and the full-time staff, the experienced staff that we had, were double checking the applications that the new people were processing. So it wasn't until September that we were back close to the levels we were at the beginning of the year. And as you can see, what happened in September is the applications were decisioning each month exceed the number we receive, which means we're making progress against the backlog. I put this together because I often get questions, why aren't we making progress? Why is my supplemental application that I submitted in the fall of 23 still not approved? And this is a graphical representation of what's happened and why we have been slow to make improvements on backlog until September of this year, when we were back just about fully staffed like we were in the beginning of the year. The green line on the bottom is just the number of pending applications in total. And as expected, the number of pendings coming off of the August push will likely be higher than we were seeing low points during the summer. We actually made nice improvement in pending applications during the summer, but it jumped up after the rush in August. Anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, but that's what I thought I would share with folks. It may give a help to understand why we're where we're at, but give you optimism that we're improving, and hopefully by 2025, we will make significant headway on the backlog. Thanks, Gary. Gary, you're still muted.
Thank you, Rob. Walter Arnold, your hand's up. I missed it when we started. Go ahead.
I like the graph very much. I would add one little comment to it. The drop that you see in applications in September may have been a direct result of a push that happened in August. In other words, there were X number of applications actually received in August before the price increase that normally would have been submitted in September. Now, what that number is, I don't know, but I think it's a valid argument that X number that would have been received in September really hit in August. So the drop isn't as proportionally um, shown or properly shown as it should have been. But that's just a comment.
Thank you. One of the questions on the chat is what is the overall job satisfaction among the genealogists? And I would hate to speak for the genealogy staff who are on board, but I will give you my assessment that I'm seeing some very positive uh, people working at the staff, very positive. The turnover was a lot to do with the folks, a couple of the folks that were let go in the past. We found some problems with our training, and we made an effort this time for new members to actually get full training, and it's paying off. They're working. Any of the genealogy staff want to react to that question? Deborah.
No, everyone's so excited, like, I can't wait to hear what she has to say. But you know, on first of all, I like the presentation that you all did. Second of all, thank you, S.J. Perkins, for asking about that. Sometimes we don't get those type of questions. And you know, what's the overall job satisfaction? Depends on the day, depends on the applications we've been looking at, depends on the emails that we've gotten. Um, but you know, for myself, I was here for 9 years, left, and came back. So that should tell you a little bit about, you know, how one, how much I love doing genealogy, but also how bad, you know, it's not that bad. I wouldn't have come back if it wasn't a certain amount of satisfaction. Um, and honestly, sometimes as far as the average turnover and longevity, I mean, Jesse Hagen's been with SAR for 30 years. We can't pry him out of the department. He's quote retired, but I still see him every week. So I don't know what you're supposed to do when you're retired because I thought you left a job, but he keeps hanging around. So you know, Denise has been there for 18 years. You know, and so, you know, the job is very good. And but again, it's, you know, how am I working on a really bad application that I don't understand? Or is it you know, and how slow is the computer? And how is the database working today? So it's just like every other job where we have good days and bad days and everything. So, but thanks for asking. I hope that answered it for me anyway.
Well, thank you, Deborah. Had a question from S.G. Perkins as well about what's a re-review and how would you, Deborah, could you explain what you feel when you're doing a re-review of an application?
Well, let's see. I'll give you the edited version usually of what I think about when I'm doing a re-review. And I say that jokingly only because it's not any of our goals to pend applications. I know that there are some I've heard in the past members that have said, well, you all just look for things to pend applications on. Was said to me to my face. And I said, no, that's not true because it's just like every other job. We don't want to have to look at something over and over and over again. Our goal is to get that application approved because one, it helps get new members, it helps get new supplementals, you know, but you know, sometimes it's necessary. And so the re-reviews can be anything from, for me, I usually do the supplementals. It can be anything from all I needed was this one document to take care of a parent to child or a particular problem. And I can get it done the moment I get it, bada bing, it's over and done with, and I move on. Other ones, I've taken, you know, 2 hours to read a proof argument because of how many pages it has and how many documents it has and how convoluted it is because of all the moving parts to them. So, as far as re-reviews, they can be very quick and they can be, a lot more. And even sometimes it depends on how many different re-reviews we're into now because of that. So, that's part of what I love about the job is there's not any day that's the same, but it also makes it hard for us to tell you all how long things take is because every application is different and every situation is different.
Thank you, Deborah. Do we have any other questions that people might have? You can raise your hand and let us know that you're interested in asking a question. Hearing none and seeing none, I will let you know that portions of this presentation will be presented to the XCOM next Tuesday. If you happen to see something that you think needs to be adjusted in the comments, I'd appreciate the feedback. Otherwise, I appreciate you coming out on Saturday night, and I especially appreciate the staff members who are here tonight. It's encouraging to see that we at least are trying to talk on the same page. So, without any further ado, I appreciate it and have a great night.